welcome to this video cast for subscribers to davidicke.com. Well, I'm going to talk today about a piece of land occupied, at least in 2013, be less now, by 22 million people. A piece of land that is little bigger than North Dakota. And I'm talking, of course, about Syria. Now, in that country of less than 22 million people now, and little bigger than the size of North Dakota, I'd like to make a list. We have America bombing, France bombing, Turkey bombing, Israel bombing, Kurds attacking, US backed, armed and trained rebels bombing and attacking. We have ISIS bombing and attacking. We have Iran having a military presence there. And now we have Russia starting to bomb that land this week. Very much in the not too distant background is China. And of course we have the psychopath that is David Cameron, absolutely desperate to get the British Air Force involved also in bombing this land. If anyone ever needed confirmation, and of course we don't, that we live in a lunatic asylum, then the events of Syria are the confirmation. Does anyone really think that all this is going on? All these countries involved, all this bombing, all this death, destruction, suffering, and refugee creation is happening because the West morally feels that President Assad is a tyrant oppressing his people, and therefore the opposition to him in the country must be supported. Does anyone really believe that? The idea that the United States and Britain alone have any interest whatsoever in the oppression of people, when the British Empire and the American Empire, that is but not named, have spent centuries oppressing people all over the world for their own economic benefit and accumulation of power. They could not give a damn about what is happening in Syria in terms of oppression of the people or whatever else they claim. We have a situation where one of the greatest oppressors of humanity on the planet, Saudi Arabia, which executes someone on average about every 2 days at the moment, is part of the coalition to stop oppression in Syria. We have ISIS rightly vilified and condemned for the horrors of beheading as a tool of trauma and control and terror. And yet, we have Saudi Arabia beheading with not a murmur from the same moral West. They are bombing mercilessly civilians in Yemen without a murmur from the moral West that arms them and allows them to do it. So, it's pretty bloody clear that the cover story of "We must help the people of Syria" is a load of fricking bollocks. So there's another reason, which I'm going to come to in this video cast, and there are many levels to it. I am sick beyond words at the moral hypocrisy of the Obamas and the Camerons and the Blairs and the Bushes and all these others, the Hollands and the Sarkozys, war criminals, the lot of them, psychopaths, who talk about how they must stand for freedom and justice while bombing the crap out of country after country and leaving mayhem and violence behind them. We have a moral United States that has held a British citizen, Shaka Arma, in Guantanamo Bay for 13 years without charge or trial, an innocent man taken from his family and his children, a man denied seeing his children grow up, has a child he's not even seen because he was born after he was taken into captivity by these psychopaths. We have children, his children, who've been denied a father in their childhood by a nation, a government representing a nation, more like it, and even more so, a hidden hand behind governments, whichever the complexion, that are driving this horrific treatment of people. We have an American administration, under whatever colour, that can do that to a human being and still claim the moral high ground. So, we have the next stage this week of the Syrian crisis, and that is the introduction of Russia as a bomber. Must have more bombs. Cameron must come in and have more bombs, because bombs sort everything, don't they? And it's a very, very dangerous situation on a much bigger level, as I'll come to in this video cast. Because on this piece of land called Syria, we now have lining up Russia with China in the background, but not far in the background, like I say, and Iran against the American, British, French-led West, with Israel, the elephant in the living room, behind them. And obviously, President Putin has gone in there to protect the Assad government. Not just to do that, but to protect Russian military and naval interests in Syria from the gathering chaos, upheaval, and takeover. And when the first strikes, anyway, were against what people are not calling ISIS, but opponents of the Assad government, well, that all makes sense, because Russia well know, and it's becoming more and more accepted, the initial trigger that brought about this whole catastrophe was through American trained, armed, and funded rebels, many of which had just been shipped over from doing the same in Libya. And so what we have now, in effect, is a emerging proxy war on that land between definitely Russia, supported by China and Iran, who are attacking American backed rebels. And I love them. They call them moderates. There is no moderation in what any of them are doing in Syria. And it could go any way. But I am going to talk later about something that was predicted a long time ago, which current events are absolutely mirroring decades later.